Hello, mixtresses and mixters. This is Mixtress Ray. You're watching Mixtress Video. Today we're doing an unfair comparisons of the Darkwood Tarot versus Nightmare Before Christmas. I actually just literally the Nightmare Before Christmas deck was delivered to my house less than 10 minutes ago. And I just immediately went upstairs, put my Darkwood Tarot in order, and here we are. So I haven't even flipped through this deck yet, except just like a little. I reordered the suits in this deck so that they would be in the order that I like to have them. And yeah, so I'm comparing these two decks probably for an obvious reason, but if you don't know, Abigail Larson is the artist with both of these decks. I'm actually not, I've seen Nightmare Before Christmas a few times, and I have basically the same reaction that I have to most Tim Burton films, which is love the aesthetic, hate the sexism, hate the, lack of diversity. Like, Tim Burton's movies are definitely problematic, and he is a very problematic dude just in general. So I don't love that, probably because, Disney and his name are both on the box of this deck. He probably gets something out of the purchase of this deck. However, I don't really have to feel bad about it because it was a birthday gift. I just love Abigail Larson's art so much that even though I don't really vibe in general with Nightmare Before Christmas, I'm thinking I'll like this deck. But like I said, I haven't even flipped through it yet. I've seen it on other people's videos, but I haven't flipped through it myself yet. So, first of all, I want to say the cardstock on this deck is what I would consider to be kind of perfect. It's matte, but it's not sticky. It's thin and flexible. It shows colors really well, just doing a quick, just kind of flipping through it very quickly. The colors pop really well with this deck. I'm doing really close today, so I've got to be careful. So, as far as just cardstock, I prefer this one. Artwork wise, I know I'm gonna prefer Darkwood. Darkwood's become one of my very favorite decks since I got it a couple months ago. I'm just totally in love with it. It's feeling like a soul deck to me. And I've only said that about one other deck, which is Marigold Tarot. So, soul deck is kind of a silly description for a tarot deck, but it's, as far as just the imagery just really speaking to you and being easy to work with for you, Darkwood Tarot works really well for me. Anyway, I will shut up now so we can get to the flip through. I just think she did such a good job. I love that. See, I'm not even going to know who most of the characters are since I've only seen Nightmare Before Christmas. I've probably seen it at least 3 or 4 times in my life. But look how those colors pop. I love that we're getting kind of an older and bigger body type for the Empress here. I'm actually kind of I have this weird thing, you guys know that I have a problem with seeing men in my decks, but weirdly, I've always really enjoyed Santa imagery. What is that about? A fat old guy. For some reason, I don't have, just personally in my childhood, I don't have any bad memories of relating to Santa. It's only good. So I'm able to see Santa as the Emperor and go, oh, I think that this deck will really be a Christmas deck for me. And I don't have anything else that I think of as a Christmas deck, so I'm kind of excited about that. How perfect is this? I know I've done several flip throughs of this Darkwood Tarot, but Of course, it's got to be Jack and Sally as the lovers. Guess that makes sense. Both of these, like, the use of borders, I really like. When borders are done well, I like them. I don't need my cards to be borderless. I just don't like when the borders, I don't know, aren't aesthetically pleasing. And I think in both of these decks, the borders are aesthetically pleasing. And I prefer, if there's going to be a border, that it be black like this, because I like to edge my cards. As you can see, I use like a freaking chisel tip on this Darkwood Tarot, so you get like a micro border on every single card. But I don't mind it, because it kind of looks like blood. I'm literally like, I'm doing a reading for a friend today, and I'm going to use this deck. So as soon as I get done doing my very first flip through of it, I'm going to do a reading for someone. So like within the first hour of having this deck, I will have done a video and a reading on it. Wow. I love images of cemeteries. I love being in cemeteries. I just love all of it. I guess I don't really have much to say. I'm just kind of enjoying the imagery. I'm loving the colors in this deck. The only sad thing right now is I'm just thinking, man, if only Darkwood was on this better cardstock. Because this is really nice, and it's not too thick. Like, I'll start shuffling. Since I'm about to do a reading for someone, I need to start shuffling it. So I'll do like a little test shuffle with both of these at the end. This is one of the reasons why I don't usually do like unboxings and stuff for the decks that I get, because either I'm like this, where I'm just sort of like not saying much, or I'm just like, I will get really like focused in on details, and I'll be like, ugh, I don't like that. Ugh, I don't like that. Like, I'm not super in love with the idea of judgment being the naughty or nice list. Like, that's not how I see the judgment card. But again, I'm at this point, I feel like I said this before, but I'm at the point in like tarot reading that I know the meanings of the cards so well. And obviously I always have more to learn, but I know them so well that like I can really use almost any deck. So even if the meaning doesn't work for me in a deck that I'm currently looking at. So the suit names were changed in Nightmare Before Christmas. So you have candles for wands, potions for cups, needles for swords, and presents for pentacles. Sorry, I just had to think about it for a second. I don't have the guidebook in front of me, but both of these guidebooks for both of these decks are like full color. You get a lot more information with Darkwood Tarot because it is a Llewellyn deck, so you get that full size paperback book with full color, and like every single card in the entire deck has an entire full page dedicated to the artwork. So it's just gorgeous. With this one, I haven't even really looked at the guidebook yet, but this one comes in the size box that it comes in. I don't have it in here right now, but the size box that this one comes in is just a little bit bigger than the cards. Like, there's still an insert where the deck fits into the little insert within the box, but the actual book it looks like a decent size. But I haven't really flipped through it yet, so I don't know why I'm talking about it, because I've heard people in like videos complain about sort of the pip style. I love it actually. Like I think I've said this in a video recently, so sorry I'm repeating myself, but um I actually really like pip style decks these days, as long as they're partially illustrated. Like I don't like the ones that's like, like you've seen those like some of those low scarabeo decks where it's just like literally like the same image of the same cup that's just on the same background in every single card, and it's telling you nothing. As long as it's partially illustrated, as long as there's something going on, like this is gorgeous to me. I love this type of aesthetic just in general, so Abigail Larson's idea for the Four of Wands is different from mine. Like, this is one of the only cards in Darkwood Tarot that I'm like, what? Even when I read the guidebook, I'm like, nope, still don't get it. Still don't get how Four of Wands is this dark troll situation, but okay. I just love touching this deck. This cardstock is just kind of, it's almost my favorite cardstock ever. I'm really enjoying it. And also something that I think I've said recently, but it's something that I just recently noticed. Like with more pip style decks like this Nightmare Before Christmas, when you're doing a spread and you're looking at all the cards together, it's kind of nice to have cards that are simpler like this next to more illustrated cards. So you can just be like, I don't know, it just, especially when it's for like the sort of the minor arcana being less illustrated, it's less important. So you see this little candelabra for Six of Wands, and you see it next to, let's just pick one at random. You see it next to the Emperor. You can kind of imagine if the Emperor is on the right side or something. You can kind of imagine that the Emperor is holding this candelabra full of six wands. And, I don't know, it's just kind of fun to have these more pip style decks. In fact, I think I prefer, I mean, not always, I guess, but I think I'm starting to really get into these types of decks. So I definitely don't see a problem with that. In fact, I like it, especially in contrast to like, it's fully illustrated here. So you get Abigail Larson's art in Darkwood Tarot being fully illustrated. And this is a gorgeous Seven of Wands. I love this Seven of Wands. But at the same time, you got this. And this also makes sense. I'm loving all the like creepy looking characters. I wonder if she made up any of these characters or if they're all from the movie. Guess I should probably watch the movie again. Love it. Love both of these. And they look like they could be friends too, you know? These two decks I feel like could work hand in hand. Oh my god, yes. Yes. Love a werewolf. You know how I am about needing to see a black cat in my Queen of Wands. This one's only the cat. And wow, look at that green. Just the use of color in this deck it's different too. Like, even just like the way the artwork is done. I mean, you can tell it's the same artist, but it's done differently. Like, this one's much more detailed, much more fine line work. It's interesting. She's just such a phenomenal artist. I'm not usually like, time will tell. I usually can't. In fact, just today, I put my Star Child Tarot into my Purgatory drawer, which it will stay there for a while before I decide to truly send it on. But so far, I haven't been able to have two decks from the same artist. I usually end up thinking I need to pick one. So we'll see. I mean, if that's the case with this, I'll end up keeping Dark Wood Tarot. But so far, I'm thinking these decks are different enough that I will want to keep them both. Sometimes it's hard to, whenever you're flipping through a deck like this, just in order. It's not always the most accurate representation of how you're really, truly going to feel about the deck, you know? Especially with these, with the more pip-like cards, it's kind of disappointing when you're flipping through them. These do have such a similar vibe, though, don't they? Wow, I like that. But, like, just, I can understand how when you're flipping through a deck, you're looking at one card at a time. You might be a little disappointed looking at a more pip style card like this. This one. But it's just different when you're doing a spread. It's almost easier to understand what's going on in the story told in a spread if you have more simpler cards to contrast the more complex ones. Again, but it sounds like I'm like speaking out like against how illustrated this deck is, when I feel the opposite. I absolutely love that deck. Like I said, right now I'm thinking seriously, right now I'm thinking Darkwood is going to end up in my top 5. And I have not, that's the only deck I've probably gotten in the last year that I would say that about. I love that, like, both of these decks have a lot of internal consistency. I know I say that a lot. I hope that's a term that makes sense to you. Like, she has picked a very clear color story for each of these decks, and they're not exactly the same. So it's not like Abigail Larson's art in general always has the same color story, because she's obviously picked a very different color story for this deck than she did with this one. This one's much more subdued, earthy tones. Kind of the whole deck is in the dark, you know. And this one's Nightmare Before Christmas deck is also very dark, but it's much more whimsical in its color story, and has much more of a kind of like Tim Burton sort of has like a gross, kind of wet, dank feel to his art style. She has replicated that so well. I feel like this is just gross. You know that this smells gross. This moment right here smells gross. She's done a good job. I love this Knight of Potions. This reminds me of like a character from Futurama, and I don't know Futurama well enough to like articulate which one it's reminding me of, but you guys will probably know. Awesome. Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing, Queen of Cups. And I think the renaming of the suits, sometimes it bothers me when suits are renamed, but I think it makes sense with this deck. Needles being swords, potions being cups, candles being wands, and presents, since we're talking about Christmas time. This one's a little, like one of the only ones that stood out to me so far of like, how is this Two of Swords on this one here? I don't know. It's just like, I love this like deep mossy green. It's one of my very favorite colors. Also, like, I love, like, I think of Darkwood and Shadowscapes as being very similar decks in that they're both very detailed artwork, and I love that. But decks that are simpler, like this one, it's just the detail is very, very pared down in comparison to Darkwood. And I think that works better with tarot cards. Like, I love this deck. I love this deck so much, but sometimes like the artwork is so detailed that, like, for example, let me just show you the Four of Swords again. Where did it go? So with this card, it's kind of hard to tell in just looking at the card. But whenever, because the guidebook has full size, like, God, what is the size? I don't know, like 6x8, 7x9, I don't know. Full size image, like seeing the full size image in the guidebook, you can see that her eyes are open and she's slightly open and she's giving him the side eye. So at first glance, looking at this card with just regular tarot size, it looks like he's about to prey upon her. But in the full size image in the guidebook, you can see that she is fully aware that he's there, but he doesn't know that she's aware. So it changes the meaning of the card. And that's just one area in which it would, just like with the Shadowscapes, a lot of people say, you know, I wish that these cards were a little bit bigger. I don't really like bigger tarot decks, but with something like this or Shadowscapes, you could just get a lot more out of the artwork if it were a little bit bigger. But that said, it's not, for me, this deck is easier than Shadowscape. Shadowscapes has a lot more going on with it. Kind of weird that, like, who's the page supposed to be here? I mean, I get that the general idea is that all three of these are the Page of Needles. But it still kind of bugs me. Oh my god. I feel like I've had a really positive reaction to all the knights in this Nightmare Before Christmas deck so far. And I don't normally have, I mean, normally feel pretty neutral about knights, but cute. Yeah, I think this deck is going to be easy to work with for me. I think it might be a little harder for someone to work with this deck if they don't have really good knowledge of the tarot already. That is so cute. I want that little doll. I want that creature. Oh my god, yes. Oh my god. That is such a gorgeous image. Love it. The cute factor. And I've been thinking to myself lately that I would really like to have, I don't really have cute decks. I would like to have a few cute decks. This is actually my card of the day. So this is actually going to scratch that itch for me, I think, because it's definitely a cute deck. My God, look at these little mice. Oh, with their little wrapped up cheeses. Oh, it's the perfect gift for them. It's definitely look like presents given by people that don't have any money. They're wrapping things up with like bed sheets and shit, or old paper they have lying around. Oh, the ghosts get presents too. Oh, that's sweet. I see how this makes sense for a Six of Pentacles. Like giving back to even giving gifts even to those that have already passed on. That's interesting. Oh, the colors, you guys. I mean, I love this. I mean, I'm just not reacting to this deck because I'm so used to this deck. But holy shit, yes. I want all these wrapping papers. I'm also impressed that, I mean, this might be something that other people might think the opposite. If you are really into Nightmare Before Christmas, like, does this deck disappoint you in that you actually don't see Jack and Sally that many times in this deck? I like that because I was afraid initially before I decided that I did want this deck, before I watched several walkthroughs of it. I was like, oh shit, you know, not really into Jack as a character in general. And I don't want a whole deck of him, but he's not in that many cards. Less than you would think. Oh, the Queen and King of Presents are going to be Santa and Mrs. Santa. Oh, that's, I mean, I feel like this should have been the real Santa. Because this is the real Mrs. Santa, right? Santa baby. Okay. I actually want to, I think I'm going to pull aside, so I'm going to pause for a second. Okay, I wanted to pull aside how many cards you actually get with Jack and Sally in the deck. So, obviously you got the one that has both of them in it. That's my dog, howling at the sirens. Then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards with Jack. 2, 3, 4, 5, only 6 with Sally. So, I mean, honestly, for me personally, that's more Jack than I would like to have in this deck, but that is not, I mean, I shouldn't even really be saying my opinion on that, honestly, because this is one of the reasons why I don't do unboxings, is because I tend to like say things. Oh yeah, this shuffle's great, you guys. They're a little sticky, just being matte finish. They're a little sticky, but not bad. Sorry, I did pause it for a while, but it seems like whatever the siren is lingering pretty closely to my house. So I'm just gonna let you guys hear it. This is part of my moment. This moment. So anyway, I'm just shuffling because I am going to be doing a reading for someone. I might as well start shuffling. So maybe I'll just pull a card for us too. Oh, I can't wait to edge this thing in purple. It's happening. Probably going to happen tonight. I love edging decks. I just like put on like RuPaul or some YouTube series or something, and okay. Can't stop. I'm enjoying shuffling these. They're going to kind of hold a bend in them. I can see that already, but I'm okay with that. And I mean, not everybody shuffles as... I like the backs too, because the backs match the deck, but they're not like screaming Nightmare Before Christmas. There's not a bunch of branding on the actual cards themselves, which I really like, because personally, so I'm just going to pick a card for us right now. Oh, 2 of presents. Because personally, like, I would not. I'm thinking about actually, even though the box is a nice sturdy box, it says Disney and Tim Burton on the box. And I'm just like a label whore kind of person. Like, in the opposite sense, I guess I'm not a label whore, is what I was trying to say. I just like anytime there's like the name of like the brand of clothing or something, I usually take all of those things off. I don't like labels. Like, so, and especially because I don't know. I don't want to. Anyway, this is why I don't do unboxings, because I start saying my stupid first impressions of things and it can kind of bother people sometimes, and I understand that. But that's why I don't, because I'm just like, personally, I'm against Tim Burton. Personally, I'm kind of against Disney. So I'm probably going to throw that box away. And it makes me happy to know that, like, there's no branding on the actual cards, you know? Nothing says Tim Burton on it. Nothing says Nightmare Before Christmas on it. And the backs are just this beautiful gothic wallpaper situation. It's going to look so good. I think I have this exact shade of purple I can etch the cards with. And I love when borders are black. Again, like I said earlier, because it's not going to be as obvious when it bleeds, when I do the edges. Anyway. So I am thinking I'm really going to like this deck, guys. Despite the fact that it is including Disney characters. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get into this. I think we're gonna have a good relationship. Okay. So, sorry for anyone that is a huge fan of Nightmare Before Christmas. I am so sorry, because I know I've been kind of like, I don't really like it. Again, maybe I shouldn't even upload this video. Maybe that would be a better idea. Anyway, I hope you guys are well. This has been my unfair comparisons of Nightmare Before Christmas and Darkwood Tarot. Have a great day, guys. See you in the next one.